Simracing GTD and Urano Esports all out of the event in GT3. So that's the look top to bottom then in each of your 3 classes inside this final hour of the 2021 24 Hours of Daytona here on iRacing. And let's check in on Williams Esports because they unfortunately weren't able to save enough fuel to try and cut out a pit stop, so they'll need a very short splash and dash towards the end of this race. And the commands that was given to Diogo Pinto was just send it. So let's see.
The best command you can get from your crew chief. Just send it flat out all the way to the finish. Don't have to worry about fuel, tires, nothing. Just go out, do it your best, give it all you can, and see what happens at the very end. Obviously, sadly, this means that Williams has to make that one more pit stop, but could be worse. They are second place, and at one point they thought that they are done and dusted out of the race, but they kept crawling back, and look where they've ended up.
Yeah, and you know, that they're just a testament to the endurance racing spirit. Never give up, you know, especially know, because they were through the middle portion of the race, they were trading race-leading duties with AAA Esports due to them being pretty much half and half off-cycle compared to each other. So MSI would lead for half a stint, and then they'll come down in, and then AAA Esports will lead for half a stint, and they were just kind of swapping spots like that throughout the middle portion of this race. And it looked like at the time MSI Esports were going to have the upper hand when it came to this portion of the race, the very end of it. But like I said, MSI Esports had a bit of fuel drama and had to take the tow back to pit lane and lost a lot of time. But this has been a spirited fight back for Alejandro Sanchez. 12 seconds adrift of AAA Esports right now. Again, I don't think this is likely, but we would like to see it to happen, I think, as spectators.
Yeah, and one thing I have to say, it's really something I would like to know in that MSI Esports team. Why did that happen? Why did they accidentally go that one lap longer that they didn't have? Were they occupied with actually calculating the fuel, or was it just a miscalculation, or nobody was watching with the driver how far they can go? Would be really interesting, obviously not to put blame onto somebody. That's just not something you should do in such a circumstance, because obviously the driver is kicking themselves already enough that they have gone that one lap too long. Just a little bit of an interesting why it happened, because it also helps you to prevent that sort of issue in the next few races. Why did that happen? What can we do so that never happens to us again?
Car right.
Yeah, that's the important thing. You've got
Clear on the right,
as
right
you know,
side.
especially as one of these big teams. You got to
Still there, hold your line.
like
Clear on the
You've
right.
got to analyze, okay, what went wrong? What can we do in the future? Like you said, to try and make sure it doesn't happen again. And, you know, the best teams learn from their mistakes. It has to be said. You know, that's the reason why Coanda are so good at what they do, is because they have a lot of feedback sessions, shall we say, in amongst all the drivers. You know, trying to help each other out. You know, a lot of them live together in the same house, so that really certainly helps to keep everyone on the same page. And you know, they are a team unit. You know, there's no infighting, at least from what we can see from the public and from my side. I see no infighting amongst the drivers of VRS Coanda Simsport, which the same cannot be said for some other teams. Let's just say that. But Coanda, they are one cohesive unit. They all help each other out. They all know what's up. They know the order of things, and that's why they win races, because they just have that mentality of always wanting to be the best. And even if you are the best, you still have to have that mentality. Otherwise, you get complacent and everyone catches up.
A little bit of an interesting statistic that I've just realized looking at the entries is Mevano Simracing, the number 5 car, actually just now in this lap is actually officially completing their fair share for this race. They have just ticked over. It's now 45 or 44, so they are now good to go and they won't be disqualified.
Yeah, that's a close one, and it's, you know, a topic we can bring up towards the end here, because the iRacing system says that the drivers will have to complete a fair share of the total race laps for each team. So you can't just have one driver do like 2 stints in the middle of the night and then that's them done. That's not going to happen. You're going to need to have more equal effort amongst all the team members to be able to comply with the fair share rule. So, of course, with the more team members you have, the easier it is to complete your fair share, because that number is divided amongst more people. But if you're in like a 3-person car or 4-person car, it's a little bit trickier to get everyone above that. But these guys are good enough to make sure that they've planned everything in advance, even with the slight delay that we had, to make sure that everyone can come in under the fair share rule and not get disqualified for the end of this event. There are people that intentionally kind of flout the fair share rule and get disqualified at the end of the event because they try to do the entire 24 hours on their own. And that is for charity the vast majority of the time as well. So that is a big effort. I mean, I thought about doing it once, but I don't have it in me to do something like that. I think it'll be more of a danger than anything else.
1 minute, 42.405.
But yeah, some people do that, and you know, fantastic work for charity.
That car is
and they tend to keep out the way of the other drivers in their split as well, considering what they're doing is quite demanding.
Clear.
Yeah, have done, been there, not gonna do it ever again. Let's just put it like that. To put it into some perspective of what 3 driver teams have to do, they only have to do 73 laps to be classified. That is
Left
in
side.
the case of a LMP2 entry.
Still there,
3
hold your
stints
line.
and
Clear.
you're good to go for Mevano Simracing. The number 5 car, they have put in 5 drivers. Tommaso Calla is now on his 46th lap, and they had to drive 44 laps to be counted. So Tommaso Calla hasn't driven in this car until 46 laps ago. So talking about a fresh driver, can't get more fresh than Tommaso Calla.
So Mevano putting the car in the fresh set of hands for the end of the event, but of course, you know, an influencing factor there is because he hadn't hit his fair share rule yet, so they kind of had to put him in to make sure that they don't get disqualified at the end of this race. You might see a little bit of weirdness going on there with Team Redline Purple's gap on the bottom right. That's because they're about to be lapped by Williams Esports here.
Clear.
So that will just happen, and then they'll fall further behind, so therefore everything will fix itself in just a couple of moments time. There they are further down the road, so it'll be a little bit of time before that happens, but Williams Esports in their full send-it mode will make sure
1 minute 42.572.
and in one lap time we actually will surpass the threshold for LMP2 drivers to come into pit lane and make it till the end of the race on a single stop. So looking at lap 8:73 for them to pit in, and they are most definitely going to be good to go for the end of the race. But obviously all of the teams that are right now out will drive till the last drop in the tank, and then they're gonna go to pit.
So there's Tommaso Calla. He's coming towards the end of his stint right now, so Mevano have actually timed this quite well for the checkered flag. He can maybe even dive in at the end of this lap and be able to call the pit stops a day, as he will have fuel then until the end of the race. It's going to be a little marginal for him, but again, should be good enough to be able to get himself to the checkered flag with a full tank from this point forwards. Going to go the long way around on one of the bits of GT traffic coming through the NASCAR turns, but that's not going to be a problem for him. 40 minutes left in this race. Still things yet undecided. Of course, right now, even though Mevano's in P2, Williams Esports have the advantage here, considering that they do still have to take another stop, but it's going to be a very, very short stop, and Mevano will have to take a significantly longer stop
Clear
here,
on the
if
right.
not a full fuel tank, to be able to get to the end of the race. So
Right.
I expect Williams to come out perhaps, I would say, 15 to 20 seconds ahead of Mevano once they come in for their final slash and dash.
Yeah, but the thing is, for Mevano, they are actually faster each and every lap than
1
Williams.
minute
Except for last lap,
42.2.
because Williams had a lot of draft. They were 6/10 faster that lap, but apart from that, they're most of the times 3, 4, sometimes even 5/10 faster than Williams right now. So I still wouldn't put it out there that Mevano might not be able to catch them and maybe battle for that second place on the podium.
They might still have a shot at it. It just depends on how these next couple of laps go. In-lap pretty crucial here for Mevano. The out-laps especially so, as they try to make sure the gap to Williams is as small as possible.
Go
so
right.
when Williams comes down on towards the pit lane, they'll be as close as possible. Definitely won't be ahead. Like I said, I think the gap's going to be around about 15
That car is a lap
seconds
down.
once both of them have come down on towards pit lane. But I would like to be proven wrong. I would like to see a little bit of a fight here for the second step of the podium. If we can get that, that would be absolutely fantastic. Meanwhile, there is a battle going on down in GT3, because this is for 4th and 5th right now. Well, it's 4th and 5th right now because they haven't come down towards the pit lane just yet. But Vendeval and Mahler, they're at it again. And still about a third of a second behind is Mahler.
Yeah, but of this 3-car battle that we had, SRC Squadron Corsa Black has already pitted. They have just pitted 1 lap ago, so it will be interesting to also have a look at that gap, how that's developing, because now obviously Vendeval Simracing Blue, they're in clean air. What can they do with that?
Car on your left.
And especially, what is Mahler Racing Team doing?
Clear.
Because once those 4 laps are
1
up
minute
for Vendeval Simracing Blue, all of a
42.057.
sudden Mahler Racing Team, 3 laps for them to just gun it and see if they can just on outright pace overtake them because they have the overcut.
Yeah, so again, still strategy intrigue in the final moments of this race. GT3s as well, like you said, the fuel gains are certainly going to be affecting the end of the race here. Marla is going to be able to take less fuel than what Van der Waal are going to have to take. And look, they're going around the outside now, coming in towards Tenderborn. They want to get it done on track. They don't want to get it done in the pit stops. Looking to go the long way around here are Marla. They try to cut back down to the inside, but there's no space to work with on the inside there to get the cutback moves done. So Van der Waal hold on to position for now. Marla, again, they're sizing up for a move into the International Horseshoe, but again, nothing doing there. So Marla, they wanted to get this pass done on track rather than in the pit stops.
I'm not liking the strategy call right now because obviously that is going to lose them a lot of time here. Probably already a second or so lost to the Squadra Corsa team, so they really have to be careful to not even lose sight of that 48 machine that has been so victorious in the real-life counterpart of the Daytona 24.
Ivano are in from second place in prototypes, and they get themselves stopped in the box okay, so no overshooting for the number 5 prototype. So they'll just wait for the fuel to go in. It's just fuel only to get to the end of this race now. Williams Esports have already gone through up into P2, but they are still due down on towards pit lane before the end of this race, due to them having to take about 10 minutes of fuel, we expect, before they can say they're fine on the fuel mileage until the end.
Clear
so
on the left.
Pinto still has to bring that car down in, but it's going to be a shorter stop than Ivano, and they're going to gain a whole bunch of time as a result, and they should come out ahead, but it's just by how much. Flashing of the lights behind with a fellow prototype. That's number 12, Delta's Team Redline Ice Blue. That's in the back of the shot there. And, well, hopefully Redline won't be wanting to disrupt Williams Esports any here, even if they feel that they're a little bit faster in this stage of the race. Of course, you can't unlap yourself here if you feel like you're fast enough. I don't think you'll be doing the lead lap cars any favor, but it's certainly a possibility that you can go for. We did have iRacing themselves in the chat a little bit earlier on, saying hello to everyone. So thank you very much, iRacing, for coming in and saying hello. We very much appreciate it. And you know, we need all the support we can get coming into the final half an hour of this race. So let's have a look back to that GT3 battle, because I think it has been just disrupted because Van der Waal came down on towards the pit lane. There they are coming out of pit lane. So yet another stop. Well, the final stop for Van der Waal is complete. Where are they in relation to SRC? Well ahead is the answer to that one.
And that's 4 laps worth of fuel there for you that they didn't have to take on, that Squadra Corsa Black had to take on. So Emanuele Petri now on the back foot, trying to catch up once again to Max Esterson, sorry, Tyler Hervias of Pure Sims Esport. No, I'm looking at the wrong car. Max Esterson, there we go, of the Simracing Blue. Similar cars. Mixed myself up there. But yeah, so that means if Mali Racing just can keep their car clean for these next 3 laps, they are also going to get out in front of that Van der Waal has. They're actually in. Interesting.
They are in. That's a little early, but maybe they wanted to cover off something here as they head their way down the pit lane. They were only about 25 laps on their stint, I believe. So it is a little early for them because these GT3s can go 32, 33 laps on their stint. So stopped in his box now. We can get that pit stop time up for you now. 10 seconds on stationary on the lane. What are we expecting for after the hook? It's going to be about, I would say,
25, I think, should be good. Also, that car could use a little
right side.
2/3 of a tank, maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's the problem with having the white livery on the front, is that all the dirt is up. So there, 26.5 seconds for Arthur Le Hook as he heads his way out of the pit lane. And where does he come out in relation to Van der Waal? There's Van der Waal. There's Marla coming out of the pit lane, and Marla are going to be ahead coming off the pit lane here by, well, a good gap,
1 minute,
but it's not as big as I expected it to be.
42.481.
Yeah, no, not really. So Max Esterson really did a great job on his pit entry and exit, because as said, he has 3 laps disadvantage on fuel load that he had to take on. So yeah, good job by Esterson keeping that time loss to a minimum. So we might still see something happening here between those two.
Yeah, we will keep our eyes on it, because now this is, well, no strategy involved in this race anymore. Everyone has done their final stops in this battle, so it's just driver versus driver here, rather than trying to figure something out in terms of the strategy, trying to get those fast stops done with the fuel saving. It is just these 3 out there trying to fight it out for P5 in the GT3 class. And, well, certainly going to be some fantastic stuff in just a couple of moments' time. Maybe if they all close up on the slipstream and give us a great 3-car duel for the end of the race. Vendeval taking some liberties with the track limits through the last apex of the bus stop chicane. You got to be careful coming through there, because if you cut it a little bit too much, Simracing will give you a slowdown penalty.
Speaking about slowdown penalties, it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of incident points these teams have been on, especially because it's so easy to pick up an incident point out of the bus stop. But I don't think we have seen a single team having to go into pit lane because they have hit that 100 incident limit.
1
Yeah, I don't
minute,
think we've seen that as well, so, which is good to see. I mean, Daytona isn't exactly the easiest track to get instant points on. Of course, you know, that becomes more of a problem at tracks like Spa, for example, but you know, you can get instant points coming through the bus stop in particular, so you do have to be somewhat careful. But yeah, I don't believe we've seen any penalties as a result of instant points infractions. So everyone keeping it clean out there. Mahler still ahead of Vendeval, but Vendeval have closed up in the draft here. BMW versus Lamborghini. Battle between the 2 manufacturers with 30 minutes left remaining for P5 in GT3.
Have to look at when they took tires the last time around. So Esterson did jump into the car on lap 740 that is. So his laps are on 55 laps. So that is quite a bit already, although it is only 2 stints, 1.5 stints. Actually, let's see, when did he jump into the car? 7:37. So yeah, his tires are actually older than the one of Max Esterson, so that also is a little bit of a reason why he has been able to close in on that BMW.
Yeah, it is. So just that tire advantage going the way of that car behind. Looking to the inside, maybe for turn 1. It's a show of the nose, but Marlowe will continue to hold on.
The lead is bidding now.
Place in GT3s. Still very much undecided in this battle.
1 minute, 42.33.
Well, perhaps even a door-to-door battle in just a couple of moments' time. If Vendeval can get a good run on that BMW and bring it side by side, maybe into the bus stop, maybe into turn 1. And they might have a run here through the kink as well, as it was a bit of a mess of an exit out of the International Horseshoe for the Bala Racing team. Here comes one of the BS competition cars that's currently looking to try and work its way through in the GT BMW. Yeah, that's a bit of a sketchy one there, but I think that GTE just has to be a little patient with this, because these guys are fighting for position in the final stint of the race.
And we're gonna get a 3-wide situation here in the moment, because we also have Mivano now going to the very top side. They're all gonna get passed cleanly, and so that means they're not gonna have any issues into the bus stop. Actually, Andres getting close to them. No, he's not able to catch him. He's actually waiting a little bit in behind to get the nice shot of the bus stop to easily overtake them around.
Car on your left. Clear.
Here we go then. Here's the big old draft from Vendeval Simracing Blue. Max Esterson behind the wheel of that car, looking looking to try and promote that Vendaval car up into 5th place, but it's going to be a hard-fought battle here in the final moments of this race. He's going to lift out for now.
Car
He's
right.
not going to capitalize on the run in towards turn
Clear.
1 just yet. Now he picks up a bit of speed. Now he lifts out. Now he goes for the dive down the inside, and that is a authoritative move there from Vendaval Simracing Blue, and I don't think Marla fought it too much.
1
Maybe
minute
they have a bit of a fuel concern for the end of this race.
41.852.
Maybe they need to save a little bit more. I would have thought they'd be good, considering how deep into the final 50 minutes they were coming down on towards pit lane. Maybe they just want to bide their time and just be the
That car is
intimidating
a lap
factor
down.
behind at this point. Maybe a bit of mind games.
Yeah, or maybe they know the writings on the wall, because they might
Right
also have a
side.
tire disadvantage, even more than just
Clear.
those, what I think 3 laps I calculated out, that Archulehawk has worse tires. So
Car
have
on
to keep
your
an eye
left.
on this, but also have to keep
Clear
an
on the
eye
left.
on the guys ahead. Ivano versus Williams, it's right now about 43, 40, oh, it's even more than that, 48 seconds between those two. So I think at this point, or I said once, Williams still good to go till the end with their pit stop and not going into any problems with the Ivano Simracing.
I think no problems is the term that everyone wants to embody coming to the final moments of this race. You know, we have seen last 10-minute problems for multiple cars, multiple teams in previous special events. So you just want to keep it on the great stuff, keep it clean, make sure you get out of the way of everyone, make sure you don't get caught up in other people's mistakes, because this is where it can all come undone very, very, very quickly indeed. But everyone's seeming to be going along well at the moment. Pinto is putting in a good stint right now. He's maintaining the gap back to Movano. Of course, he
1
needs as much of a
minute
gap as possible so that he can fit his splash and dash in and still come out ahead of Movano. Still looks likely that that's going to happen at this stage, because I don't think Tommaso Cala in the Movano car has really been able to gain all of that much. In fact, he lost a lot of time on that last lap. So not looking good for Movano and P2 at the moment, but I'm sure they'll still be happy with the podium.
Yeah, most definitely. And looking at the podiums, BMW team, a Bureau Suit competition, they have just been into pit lane for their last pit stop of the race. I was a little bit worried that they might have to concede their 3rd place, but no, Kova is still about half a lap behind them, so they're also good to go, safe on their 3rd place, unless something happens to them, which obviously we don't hope will happen.
Just a little bit of an update on GTE. I think MSI Esports ready to run out of steam here. The gap was challenging, and I don't think anyone would have said they'd be able to catch the race lead before the end here. They sit 25 seconds back now off your race lead, but that gap was at about 50 seconds at one point, not too long ago, so they've made some good progress, but unfortunately it was too big of a gap too late on into the race for MSI Esports to really do anything about AAA Esports White. And remember, they put themselves into this situation as well with that miscalculation on the fuel. If they didn't do that, we might be talking about a very different story here for the race lead in GTE. But endurance racing is a cruel
1
mistress.
minute
You make the one wrong decision
41.909.
and it sets you back so much. And AAA Esports, they've been pretty clean in their racing so far. They haven't really had too many errors. They've capitalized on that opportunity, handed to them on a silver platter by the mistake of MSI Esports. And 24 minutes left to go. They're going to be looking to win here in GTEs. But again, get to the checkered flag first before you celebrate.
Yeah, I'm right now trying to think of anything that happened to that AAA Esports White beat, even ever so minor in the last 10 hours. And quite honestly, I can't think of a single mishap they had, like going off track, going a little bit wide through a turn. I don't think we have seen set them a foot wrong, even in the whole race. So really clean performance by that AAA Esports, and obviously a very well-deserved win if it will happen for them in the next 23 minutes.
Yeah, possibly. So, yeah, but sometimes it's the hardest portion of the race now, because if you're that last driver behind the wheel of the car, your responsibility is get to the checkered flag, and sometimes you just get a bit nervous that something might happen ahead of you that takes you out, and you know, you have to deal with that sort of pressure being put on yourself, which is a different kind of pressure. So you got to keep cool, just run your own lines, and don't completely step off the throttle though. That's the thing, because if you park the bus a little bit too much, shall we say, then you start making
1 minute
lazy errors, and as a result,
41.954.
you'll be put into more dangerous situations. Here comes Williams Esports then, down on towards the pit lane for the final time in this race. What a big effort it is inside these final hours for Williams Esports to do something about your race leader, but they haven't been successful. Instead of having to scrap over P2, it looks secure for them for the moment, as long as this pit stop goes
Left side,
according to
clear
plan.
on the left.
It's going to be a pretty short stop indeed, but
Car
we'll wait to
stop
see
on the
what
left.
the exact figure is for them as they wait for that fuel to flow into the car to get them to the end of the race. 17 seconds stationary on the pit lane,
That car
20
is a lap
seconds
down.
stationary on the pit lane. Soon,
Right
surely
side.
they'll be off and away. 25
Clear.
seconds rounding that out, and they'll be off and away. But where is Mivano? They are just coming up across the start-finish line. So it looks like Williams Esports, I was right, they were able to come out clean ahead by a good margin. So that's a good result there for Diogo Pinto and his team. And now they'll be able to look forward to the checkered flag at this point, because they have the fuel to the ends. They have an 8.5 second gap back to Mivano. Mivano shouldn't be able to challenge from that far back. But again, I will reiterate what I've said so many times in this race. Traffic can ruin your day.
Yeah, I mean, Williams is in clear air, but they have to be careful because it is only, what is that, 8 seconds? 9 seconds between Williams and Mivano. So setting your foot wrong twice in the second horseshoe, going off track there, and you have already lost 8 seconds, and you have the other guys in your draft. So even though it is only 20 minutes and you still have 9 seconds of a gap, you still have to be very careful, because that is a very short margin.
It's nothing in a 24-hour race. 9 seconds, nothing. That can be gobbled up very easily by a slight error, massive traffic, anything. So, again, can't get complacent here at Williams Esports. No one can get complacent at this stage in the race. Looking back to GT3s though, because we still got this P5 battle in this class. Still very close indeed between Vendaval, Simracing Blue and Marla. Of course, Vendaval able to get that pass a good couple of laps ago, but I don't think Marla really fought it, and they just slid back in line and thought, okay, you know, we'll look maybe to make something happen a little bit later on in the race. Of course, Vendaval has the slight tire advantage in this battle. They're trying to pull away, and in fact, they're finding some success right now with about 2/3 of a second being pulled out. They'll be reeled back in by the time the bus stop arrives, though, because of the draft. But Marla are still keeping themselves in this, and if they can make a last moment, maybe even last lap pass to get up into P5, that would be incredibly enthralling, but it requires the right setup in terms of planning.
Car right.
Yeah,
Clear on the right.
it is a little bit of a give and take here between those two. While the Marla Racing team is able to get close to them right up here, they still
1
have the
minute,
problem that they are not really able to
41.929.
fight the Vendaval team through the infield of the Daytona International Speedway. So I don't know, right
Car
now
on your
most
left.
definitely I would give the advantage to
Still
Vendaval
there.
Sim Racing, because it
Clear on the
seems
left.
like they are still able to be quite aggressive on the tires, and they still get a lot of grip from their car. Like, once again, you were able to see Marla Racing Team a little bit of a wiggle out of the international horseshoe, costing them a few inches once again to that Vendaval, and it's all time that they have to catch up till the end of that long straight into turn 1.
Yeah, you have to think about this move. You need to plan this move. Unless that car ahead of you makes a mistake, you need to manufacture your own luck in this situation. There's some traffic coming through, which might
right.
give a lucky break here, but I think they'll just about
Clear.
be clear. coming up in towards the NASCAR banking. There was a bit of a slide there. I think
Right
that was from
side.
the Racecraft Esports prototype.
Clear.
That had a big moment coming up onto the banking, but thankfully they were able to hold it all together. We've seen some incidents already in this race where some drivers have lost it coming onto the banking and have collected some innocent drivers. Thankfully, it wasn't a repeat.
You know what? Something that is really sad to see is that SRC's Quattro Corsa Black in behind. They have been consistently faster than both of these two cars ahead of them, but because of their pit stop strategy, they got thrown so far behind that they have no chance of catching up in those last 17 and a half minutes. And they just have to cope
1
with the
minute
place that they're in right now. So a little bit
42.227.
sad
That car
for
is a
them,
lap
but
down.
obviously we still have that battle just ahead of them.
I wouldn't count them out though. I wouldn't count
No,
them
most
out
definitely not.
because they're sitting about 5.5 seconds behind this battle at the moment. So in the event that there's any extended side-by-side between these two cars, they're going to be gaining time hand over fist. They're already gaining time when they're not fighting. They gain about 0.2 of a second on that last lap. Well, 1/10 of a second on that last lap. So a marginal gain there for SSC Quattro Corsa Black. Not enough to be able to make the gap, well, get onto the back of these guys before the end of the race under their own power. But if these guys slow each other down, then definitely still count SRC in this battle for P5.
Right side. Clear on the right.
Thank you very much to. Oh yeah, you posted the you posted the strengths of field in the chat there. Yeah, 7,176 for LMP2, 7,427 for GTE, and 7,085 for GT3. 7,213 overall. And if you don't know what a soft means, maybe you're new to iRacing. That means that's the average I rating for both each of the classes and of course overall at the very end there. So. These are some very, very skilled drivers here, it has to be said. And it was, you know, it's a big effort just in general to get into these top splits, to get your I rating high enough.
You just got the white flag. That means one more lap to go. Left side, clear on the left. 1 minute, 41.889.
You know, even though we see some cars, you know, down towards the bottom of their classes, like Obsidian in LMP2 and Alpine Eagle in GTE and Pure Sims in GT3. That doesn't mean they're slow. It's just that
car is
you know,
a lap
things
down.
might have happened in the middle of the race that put them there, or if their pace is perhaps not there compared to some of the other teams, they're at the bottom end of top splits. I bet if you put those guys into second split or third split, they'll be inside the top 5 cars easy.
Easy, maybe even challenging for the win quite nicely. And yeah, by the way, I've ripped those numbers from Paul Albert, who has been publishing them about 2 hours ago or so. Yeah, it should be really interesting what they, or it would be extremely interesting what they would have been able to do in that second or third split. But obviously, it still feels a little bit, yeah, I've won second split, but it'd be real nice to see what I could have done in first split. So it always gives you that kind of feeling. So better to be in the midfield of a top split than be fighting for the win in second. Even though that is still a very great honor. And since I've seen that question, 3,100 and I think 41 is my round.
There we go. Under 15 minutes left remaining in this one, everyone. It's been a bit of a wild ride since the very start of the race.
Clear on the right.
Finally getting underway after a little bit of a delay, but it was worth the delay in parts because we had a very exciting first 6 hours. We've had some intriguing battles throughout the middle hours of this race, and now we have this final battle for P number 5 in GT3 between Vendaval and Marla Racing
You did
Team.
really well.
Cars that have been, well, finding each other on track more often than not throughout the race. These two cars were involved in that pretty commonly occurring 3-car battle pack that we saw throughout the middle portions of this race in GT3. So they've kept themselves together and kept each other honest until this very final moment. Differing lines coming through the international
Great race,
boys.
Well done to anyone who's made it to the finish.
Without disrupting things too much. They go to the outside, coming up towards the kink. That's the second place Williams Esports car, who really can't afford to be getting themselves involved in an incident right now. considering how close behind Mivano is, and they are starting to catch at this point. That gap was 10 seconds, now it's 7 seconds for P2 in LMP2. So Williams do have to be careful here that they don't lose too much time, otherwise their second place will come under threat. But yeah, I think Mahler are just watching and waiting and planning their move here. They're trying to see where Vendaval are strong, where Vendaval are weak, and they're going to plan their move accordingly, maybe for the final couple of laps of this race.
Yeah, the last 2 times Mahler was actually trying to eye up the run onto the
GG's,
finish line.
everybody.
And I think if they would have kept their foot in, they would have actually been able to get that run happen and be able to overtake them at the start-finish line. So until the hook, I think he's done with saving fuel, and it's flat out for him and now, and really testing out what his car is capable through the bus stop. What kind of run can he get through turns 3 and 4 of NASCAR? And yeah, right now I'm still giving the advantage to Vendaval if they can keep the car under control through the infield. But Artile Hook starting to really eye up, and you can see how much of a pull he is getting here down the front stretch, really getting extremely close to that car. He was lifting there slightly.
Yeah, I'm still lifting, trying to make 100% sure that he's good on fuel to the end. He should be, considering he went the deepest into the seconds last stint of any of these GT3s. So maybe just making 100% sure, or maybe he's just trying to deliberately stay behind and wait for a better opportunity to be able to get his way through. I think that's the case, because even if he does get through, that doesn't mean the battle's over, because then Vendaval are in Mahler's slipstream, and then they do the exact same thing back on them. So they need to plan this move accordingly, and they have to plan it carefully, because if they can't extend the gap once they get the pass done, then they're on the defensive positioning coming in towards the final couple of laps then. So yeah, it's a bit weird here. Do you prefer to be the driver attacking or the driver defending? That's the question.
If I would be in the case of these two drivers, I would most definitely choose Antele Hook's point of view, because I really like to be the guy attacking somebody. Also, one thing we have to mention, the SRC Squadron Corsa Black car, they have been trying to chase these guys down, but they have been actually in really bad luck with traffic, and so they lost about 2 seconds in the last 3 laps. So yeah, unless something happens up front, I don't think that they will be able to get up to these two and fight for that position.
All right then, it's still very, very close. 10 minutes to go in the 2021 24 hours of Daytona. Here on iRacing, battle for P5 here between the Lamborghini of Vendaval Simracing Blue and the BMW of Mahler Racing Team. It's being disrupted by a couple of prototypes that try to squeeze their way through. Disrupting the battle somewhat here. Vendaval being able to get a little bit more of a gap, but perhaps not as much as they would have wanted. They want the traffic to impede Mahler more than it impedes themselves, to try and extend that gap and to mitigate the effect of the slipstream, but that hasn't happened this time around through the midfield. And Mahler still well within contention here.
Yeah, that passing maneuver against the Vendaval Simracing there through the kink at before the second horseshoe. I hate to be in that position. I always give that position over to the car that is lapping it, because it just isn't a great feeling having that car to the inside, having to really go hard over those curves, because it always unsettles this car weirdly, and so you never know really what the car is going to do, so you have to backpedal that car while also trying to keep your foot in. Just such a weird experience, but both of them made quite a good pass out of that.
Slipstreaming all the way down up to the start-finish line. Mahler still yet to go for the move in this battle for 5th in GT3. Still staying in line, still playing it very, very patiently indeed. There's one of the Coanda cars looking to squeak its way through. Oh, that's a little scary, isn't it? Oh my words. Heart in mouth moment. And well, Coanda, number 13, are able to get their way through. Well, it's the number 13 car in Sim. It's actually the number 88 car, which is what they wanted to have on that car, but unfortunately we can't get all the team numbers correct. It's unfortunate, but we'll have to see this battle develop between Vendaval and Marla. Marla have been playing this one very, very passively so far, but that's not going to last for long. We're running out of laps.
Yeah, and I'm still not sure what Marla is wanting to go for. Are they gonna try to overtake into turn 1 on approaching the last lap, or are they going to go and try for the hero move down the draft, up to the finish line, down to the checkered flag, and try to snipe away in that position on the stripe? So I'm probably thinking right now towards more sniping it away, because Archer has been trying to really set up his moves here through the bus stop and getting his run perfect. But right now, once again, a little bit of a better run through the bus stop for Vendaval. Has been the case for about 60% of the time here that Archer Hook was trying to set up this run down to the finish line. So, yeah, Marla Racing probably right now tending to more towards getting that run into turn 1, or rather than to the stripe.
Yeah, the run stalls out a little bit coming in towards turn number 1. I'm not sure whether that was because Arthur is still lifting out the throttle, or if the Lambo is just that little bit better in terms of the straight line speed at this stage. You see there's a little bit of aerodynamic damage to Arthur the Hook.